What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about a interesting thing that I noticed on the God of War Ragnarok previews. And it's only, from what I've seen, two people, did this, or two, sites or, businesses. But this is really interesting. So the idea of crying, that people cried within, let's say, the first 45 minutes to make sure both of these count in it, is pretty interesting to me. Now, we have PlayStation Access, who did a video titled God of War Ragnarok had us in tears after 10 minutes. And it's a video with, of course, Robert S. Pearson. And he talks about how he cried, within the first 10 minutes. And he does say that he won't say whether it was tears of joy or tears of sadness. Now, when I saw that, I was like, well, he loves water, much like me. We're much the same. So maybe there's some beautiful water graphics in this game that he just couldn't take, which I think is perfectly valid. But I didn't know. I was like, well, I wouldn't say he's like soft, and that's a thing. I do want to make that kind of known and kind of clear. You could say, well, Alex, these are people that get the code very, very early. Maybe they're sucking up. Maybe they're just saying these things. That's totally possible. I'm not going to throw that completely out. But specifically Robert S. Pearson of PlayStation Access, I really, really like the guy. I do think he's honest, although he is, of course, on the PlayStation side. He's biased in that way. He's someone I do trust in his opinion. Greg Miller is the other one of Kinda Funny. So he said he cried within the first 45 minutes. Now, interesting, I guess, that they would both title it something. He tweeted it. The video title isn't the exact same thing, but he has the same kind of language in his tweet as this PlayStation Access video, where he says it took him, he played the game for 5 hours, but at 45 minutes in, he was crying. Also doesn't say if it was because of joy or because of sadness. And of course, you could say the same thing for Greg that maybe you could pick on for Rob. Is he biased? Is he soft? Is he, all these different kind of things. Of course, you can think that. That's totally fine. And that could be part of this, right? Again, don't want to throw that completely out. But the question I want to ask, and maybe there's, I guess, one final thing. Maybe there's other people. I don't know if you guys have seen. Maybe there's other previews that had the same kind of idea to write something like this. So you could, if you found one, you can let me know in the comments. But then I immediately started to think, all right, well, it's actually what Rob said, because he said, I'm not going to tell you if it was joy or if it was sadness. So I want to ask, I want to make a video talking about it. Which one is it? Now, I want to lean more towards joy. I want to think that they played the game and they were just so blown away by it that they started crying. I would lean more towards that for this reason, right? So Greg says 45 minutes. Now, that's a huge jump from 10. So what I do think is Rob cried out of joy. And because 10 minutes in, you would think if something big, huge happened 10 minutes into this game, that would make you so sad. And honestly, the only thing I could even think of is Freya dying. That's the only, because another thing that people had pointed out, I pointed out in the video yesterday, and I've seen other people saying it, is that you got to remember these are the first 5 hours of the game. So this Thor fight, which we talked about yesterday, right? It's early. It's very early in the game, which I predicted. I saw other people predict, and we're gonna be right. That's gonna end up happening. But you do have to remember that this is literally the opening 10 minutes of the game, and then for Greg, it's the opening 45. So that's kind of why I do think it's just joy, because if it was sadness, you would think, all right, well, if something big happened 10 minutes in, or say in the 9-minute mark, that would have you crying because something sad happened. And again, the only thing that could really happen is Freya dying, which would be quite a thing to do in the first 10 minutes. But if that happened, why was Greg's, kind of pitch or his clickbaity kind? It is a clickbaity thing, right? They're trying to make you click on the thing, so they're saying something. I mean, that's just kind of the definition. Why would his thing be 45 minutes if it happened at the 10-minute mark? You know what I mean? You would think his would also say 10 instead of 45. So because his says 45, I'm going to assume it's just kind of marinating, where they're just oh, it's so good. And Rob just, it could hit him immediately how good the game is. And then for Greg, over the first 45 minutes, he couldn't take it anymore, and he exploded in tears. And that's what I think probably happened. So was interesting. As soon as I watched the PlayStation Access video yesterday, I heard Rob say that. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fascinating, because he even leaves the door open that it could be sadness. Then I saw Greg say he also cried, and I was like, wow, well, I don't know what to think now. But again, I think because the minutes are off, 10 minutes versus 45 minutes. Again, like, could that just be a clickbaity thing? Could Rob have cried 15 minutes in? Could Greg have cried 30 minutes in, and 45 is just a better clickbaity thing? It's possible, but I do think they're probably being somewhat accurate, and they're too far away from each other. So it can't be something too sad, because then, like, well, why would Greg, 30 minutes would pass and then he would start to cry? So I do think it was just kind of the hit that the game is so good. And again, that's their opinion. If the game is amazing, that's awesome. If some of us cry or don't cry when the game comes out, that's totally fine. This is not picking on anybody. Again, there is a doorway to, how much of it is, like, over-exaggerated. Like, you can definitely go down that angle. Personally, I will hear no Robert S. Pearson slander in my video. I love the guy. I love all of his special events that he does on PlayStation Access, but that's just my opinion on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.